So what happened? We did a rundown last week, or not last week, last Monday. So over the weekend, on Sunday to be precise, Chris Guy came to town, and for those we've covered him before, he's a Holocaust revisionist, just general shitty human being who earned his money.
Could we call him
Uh,
Piss Guy?
who Sky?
Could we call him Piss Guy?
Piss Guy? You can call him
Yeah.
whatever you want.
What if we call him
Piss
Piss
Guy?
Guy?
Yeah, Piss Guy.
Yeah.
So Piss Guy.
Thank you, Grumpy. That was good. Yeah.
Piss Guy comes to town to spread his piss, and had decided that he wanted to go. Well, first they protested at Victoria Park. They held some sort of anti-vaccine mandate rally thing because, for those of you who aren't aware, Ontario is introducing a vaccine mandate, or has introduced. So I guess it technically went into effect September 22nd. Although it's kind of complicated. I don't know how many fines have been issued yet. Like they've kind of been on light on the enforcement end of it so far. But the idea was it went into effect September 22nd, and the idea is if you want to do things like gyms, eat at a restaurant, or anything like that, you have to show proof of vaccination to the people at the store. That's pretty much where we're at right now. And so Chris Sky, who's been a COVID denier along with his Holocaust denial, going around telling everyone to basically just say no and disobey all these COVID mandates. And so he came to London to do the same. And after the rally in Victoria Park, they went to The Works, which is a burger chain that exists. I think there's several. I know there's one like in Milton, one in Ottawa, which is where they started, and there's one in town here in London. And I know it was mixed feelings. My opinion in this, like they do an okay veggie burger, and like I've enjoyed eating there in the past. But it turns out, not only was Chris Guy allowed to work or allowed to enter the building and eat, not being vaccinated, and all his unvaccinated uh, fans also got into this restaurant, and they had a video where they like looked around and been like, they opened up the whole thing, and all the people here are not vaccinated, and we're not obeying the mandate. Uh, and that was allowed by the owners of this store. And I looked in. I did a bit of a digging into looking. I mean, journalists already sort of like made the connections, but like we went a bit further, but pointing out the fact that the dude who owns this franchise, The Works, was a PPC candidate in Spadina, Fort York area. They're riding. So he's a PPC candidate. So the PP party was supporting the piss guy, even though there's some internal conflicts between all of them. But a lot of urine coalescing together and working together. The PP party and piss guy. And so our reaction to this is okay, there's a mandate in place. Maybe the business should be fine, right? They broke the law. So then we get this article which came out yesterday, which says health unit swoops in on London eatery, praised by anti-lockdown crusader. So initially, I want to say like London unit swoops in, or health unit swoops in. That sounds to me like there's some like if someone is swooping in to do something, doesn't that leave you with the impression that like justice was served or something was done? Like like swoop implies some sort of like action, you know?
Anything? Yeah.
So let's read this article and feel like if swooping in is an appropriate headline for what occurred at this restaurant. So it says a downtown London restaurant where a high profile anti lockdown personality bragged that vaccine and mask requirements were violated will now comply with the guidelines following a health unit inspection, the city's top doctor said Monday. So they will now comply with the guidelines, even though this happened on the 27th, I think it was, and the mask mandate or the vaccine mandate and mask mandate both predate the 27th, right? But now they will. Anti-vaccine protester.
It's under the purview of the health unit too.
Yes.
That's an interesting one. It's like health unit inspection sounds like, you know, the like restaurant inspections type of thing.
Like if
which I guess kind of makes sense, but it's still like, huh?
Like if the PP owner was not mandating that his staff washes their PP hands. Yeah, I mean, like that's what I thought too. But I wonder if some of these like the mandates are being run through this part of like the bureaucracy, and that would make sense to me. Right, making sure that you have like antibacterial soap and like alcohol soap or whatever.
Yeah.
Anti-vaccine protester, piss guy, visited the Works craft burgers and beer on King Street on Sunday and posted to social media that mask mandates and vaccine record checks were not followed. But the Middlesex London Health Unit followed up with the restaurant, and the provincial legislation will now be followed, or the business could face a steep fine. Like, think about like how stupid this is. They completely flaunted it, got to sit in there, make a show about it, did a protest, and then the health unit goes in and goes, guys, what are you doing? And then they're like, okay, we will now obey the law. Could you imagine how anyone else would be treated for breaking the law in this fucking city? Like, I was so... Because all that needs to be done here, because, like, personally, I don't give a shit. You know, this is the one instance where, like, yes, they should be fined up their ass. I don't care. Fine them as much as you want. ACAB and all that cool stuff, I don't care. Fine the hell out of these people. Like, this PP party person and whatever financial incentive he abides by, like, fine him till it fucking hurts him. But instead they're like, oh, now they're going to be obeying. Even when they refused to obey it when it actually mattered. When they had anti-vaccine protesters show up to the doors. What a gutless fucking city we live
in. Is the health unit cops?
Are they cops? Not technically.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just saying in terms of like legal enforcement. This would be the one enforcement I'm okay with. Let's find them. Let's, we don't need,
we should give the health unit
like
guns.
Beating and arresting and all like the things that come with like policing. But just be like, no, you disobeyed a societal good. You caused societal harm. So we're going to make you pay for that financially. Seems like a reasonable thing to do.
I really want like anti-vaxxers to start writing fiction about what they're like, what the future they think is going to happen looks like, where it's like the health unit is armed with guns and like shoots your like hands off or something, or your dick off if you like don't wash your hands after you pee.
You know what's funny? Like, I know there's some like weird things in the United States where that sort of happens, because I know like the post office, they have like...
Hold on. No. You're not going to say the U.S. we shoot our dicks off.
No, I wasn't going to say that.
Standards.
What I was going to say is that like the post office, some of their like agents for like mail theft and fraud and stuff like this get to carry weapons and like act like police for like the post office. And it's a similar, or it used to be a similar thing with the IR or the Internal Revenue Agency as well. And I remember there was like a movie from the 80s that was like a comedy, but it was like funny, like because the 80s they were like tax is bad, right? So the enemies of the movie in this comedy were these like tax people that would drive around with their guns, being like, "You didn't pay your taxes." Where they shoot your dick off. Like, I was gonna say literally they shoot your dick off. But either way, I don't think it's set up like that.
Like a public execution.
Oh my god. They just walk in, shoot the
Very
shot.
solemnly, like,
Oh my God.
you know, lined up in front of the whole town to watch.
Oh my God.
Solemnly unbuckle and take down your pants, put it in a little guillotine thing,
Oh,
and then they blast.
dear Lord. The accused did not watch. The punishment is now. Oh, our government officials are so toothless. we need the
Yeah.
health officials to have way more power.
If we're gonna,
I mean,
if we're
they already
gonna
think
have
it's tyranny. Kick it up.
physical, like, punitive measures, they should at least be funny.
Yeah. Oh my God. So let's see. So it's just amazing. Again, swoop in. They did the absolute least that they could do in this. The health unit was made aware a restaurant was not requiring vaccination passports in spite of the provincial legislation. The health unit inspected, discussed with the operator, and the situation has been resolved. It is now requiring passports. Like, again, it's not like the initial reporting on this was that the works had signage on the restaurant saying they're requiring masks and vaccines. The only difference here is that on that day, the owners stepped in and allowed Chris Sky to come into that restaurant without vaccines, and they flaunted that. The only way to accurately punish that is to go, they purposefully flaunted this. It wasn't some error. It wasn't some like mistake or mishap. They purposefully flaunted the legislation to protest it. You find that. Like, if anyone else were to, like, flaunt something in protest, I guarantee you the police will be issuing fines. Guaranteed. If any, like, leftist activists, like, blocked something or, like, occupied something that was against the law, guarantee you fines will be coming down. But because this was a bunch of, right wingers, or for whatever reason, the health unit is just like afraid or something, they didn't fine them. And it says, though fines for individuals start at $750, so they could have gotten $750 per head for each of the assholes that went in there. The fines for businesses found guilty of violating the provincial legislation start at $100,000. We could have gotten addition of 100,000 in revenue for what they fucking did. And instead they're just like, no, I don't know. We're going to be nice to you, okay? It's a serious penalty. We're grateful the operator decided to comply. But they didn't comply. They explicitly flaunted that kind of compliance. My God. And then it says, Chris Hunt, part owner of the works, confirmed Monday he will comply with the vaccine passport requirements. I never had any interest in not complying. It was not planned, he said of Sky's visit and social media posts. I adhered to health guidelines. Now, I made some comment about not knowing Chris's, like, politics. So I guess it was Ian.
Whose? Sorry?
So Ian Roden was the PPC candidate. And Chris, I can't remember his last name, is the co-owner. Chris Hunt is the co-owner with Ian, who was the PPC candidate.
Oh,
and so I was like, maybe Chris isn't like that. And I mentioned this as well. My friend who worked for the Works in Ottawa, who knew both of these guys, because then it was just a single store in Ottawa, right? They're two peas in a pod. They're clearly on the same fucking side. And like if
what's in a pod?
Peas in a pod, two peas in a pod. Like they're close, they're best buds.
Pea.
Oh,
I don't know. We're having a very like
two PPCs in a pod. So like maybe Chris wasn't a candidate, but it's clear they share a politics. And this to me is just complete and utter horseshit. And it feels to me that what they're doing is because they know Ian is a PPC candidate. And since everyone knows that PPC were an explicit anti-mandate party, that they're sending Chris out here to do the PR of like, Well, we never intended not to comply. It was a complete accident. We didn't know what happened. Really? You really want us to believe that when your owner was a part of it, like an anti-mandate party, that somehow that's where the like anti-mandate people knew to stage their like protest? I never had
Yeah.
any interest in not complying. Yeah, go fuck. Mayor Ed Holder lashed out against Sky for violating the legislation and bragging about it on social media, calling him a chucklehead. That's what we need. Old conservatives to. I've had it with all this tomfoolery. Get this chucklehead out of here. Mayor Ed Holder also doesn't believe in evolution. There are some individuals who
I feel
don't.
like he wouldn't say that now, though.
It's been a while since he said it, but when he was a member of parliament for the Conservative Party, he did say it.
God.
The
God bless our Ed.
The weird thing about Ed, for whatever it's worth, I will take it. Is he seems to be slightly okay with religious issues generally, and what I mean is like he shows up at rallies in support of the Muslim community here, which surprised me, I guess, compared to any other conservative who would try to distance themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm talking like not just like put on by like the Muslim like leaders in town, but like even just like grassroots, like when we had a solidarity event that was put on for the Christchurch shooting. He showed up to that, which was like a random one on the corner of Victoria Street or like Victoria Park, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but either way, beyond that, total dickhead. Don't like. And has been a kind of a shitty mayor. But I mean, I guess we could stand in solidarity of like calling Sky a chucklehead. Oh. He continues, there are some individuals who don't think the rules apply to them. What they're looking for is attention, and I don't want to give the chucklehead who thought this was a good idea credit. They are not worthy, and they do harm to our community, and they do harm to the businesses, Holder said. I mean, this is technically giving him attention, so as much as, like, whatever, Holder, like, that's a...
I wonder if it's just because he can't say dickhead in an article. That's why I say chucklehead. Yeah.
Sky 37. Oh, 1 second. 2 fat bears in a week? Even a $100 symbolic fine with a promise of rapidly escalating for future violations would have been good. Anything would have been good other than what they did. What they did was so weak. It was beyond weak. It was just like, please do better. All right. Chucklehead is one of my favorite things to say. Such good mouth. Really? I find it's a bit cluttered. Sky, 37. He's 37. He's only 2 years older than me. Jesus Christ. Whose real name is Chris Sakocha, has led numerous anti-mask and anti-lockdown protests. He was charged in May with uttering death threats after threats were made to shoot people and of assaulting a peace officer with a weapon after a driver drove his car at police when officers tried to arrest him. All of this is true. I mean, they should also say that, oh, wait, I think they get to it, so that's fine. His posts shared on Twitter show him seated at the works and scanning a large group of customers, all without masks. When Chris Guy comes to your town, restaurants will not enforce the vaccine passports, he said. Look at this, we have the whole restaurant. That led to several people lashing out on Twitter and reposting Sky's past social media posts that questioned the Holocaust and were hateful towards Muslims, Jews, and blacks. Yep. Then they just like repeat some Twitter stuff here. So we got, count me in as another customer who would like to know if you allowed a bunch of unvaccinated people led by a Holocaust denier into your restaurant, tweeted Allison Hunter. Management unnecessarily exposes employees to a deadly virus and the criminally stupid. I mean, that's something to like hit on here too. It's like their employees probably were not like sitting around going, hey, this is a great idea. Ian Roden, part owner of the works, declined comment Monday. He was a candidate for the People's Party of Canada in the last election in a Toronto riding, and also opposed lockdowns and vaccination measures. So notice again, he declines comment, but the Chris guy does not, and is like, "Oh, we didn't know." And yeah, Rob Gill's a grifter, so we're not gonna mention him. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean,
Um.
feckless is what is happening here. Fecklessness. What were you gonna say, Vienna?
It is funny how quickly small business owners like change their tune when they're actually like challenged on anything. It was like they knowingly do something like this and they're like, oh no, we'll never do it again. We'll follow the health orders. Please don't fine us $100,000. Like,
I mean,
I don't know.
it's
On the one hand, like we'll see if they actually do it, but it's still very much like they act all tough on social media and then are threatened with anything, and it's like, oh no, we're just sad and innocent and we didn't do anything and we don't stand for anything. We're just like, oh no, please don't fine us.
yeah, and I think too, like $100,000 is not really gonna dent the war. It might dent it, like if they
I
were
think
just.
it would.
You think it would?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think people really overestimate how like profitable having multiple restaurants is. Having one is pretty good.
Well, I was gonna say 100
Generally, when
million.
you add another, you're just adding in terms of like costs and like issues of like ordering and staffing and everything like that, and you're getting like a little bit on top, but you're not getting like the crazy like profit increases the more you have type of thing. And like, yeah, 100,000 is like, because there's no way that they own their building either. So that's what, a good like 2 years rent on just this one location, let alone everything else they already are probably paying for.
Is there a way to see how much?
Like, I'm surprised that it's that high.
How much like the works would earn through like profit? Like, would they post that information?
Probably not, no.
Weird. I just tried a quick search and I realized like it's going to be hard to do because the works or Works Canada is are like unemployment stuff,
Hmm.
which conflicts with the works in searching search terms, whatever. But yeah, like what I was saying is like it might hurt a franchise less. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you are all right as well. But I was just saying like definitely if they were just a local like business, 100K would hurt a lot. Like maybe I'm thinking maybe like the works isn't a good example of this, but like I think 100K to McDonald's like wouldn't hurt. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
McDonald's doesn't
although with McDonald's too, like it depends on
if it's like the local
who they're charging it
franchise or-
to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because they're probably charging it to the franchise owner, in which case, yeah, that McDonald's is like getting sold or
Yeah.
dismantled. Like,
No, fair.
no, I'm very surprised that the fine is that high, and like happy with it if they would actually fucking go through with it.
But this was the prime. Like, what other opportunities would arise where it's like this is the prime case to use it for? Like because of how it was flaunted here, this is the prime case to do it. You know.
Yeah.
But
Although at the same time, like they might be hoping that it's not like it might be one of those like attention things where like if they try to find them, then like maybe the Works and PPC and Piss Guy and like everybody else would then go on to like make a big deal about it, and then Rebel would be fundraising it, and then like next thing you know, London's a hotbed of anti-vax bullshit even more than it already is.
I mean, the thing is, it is right. Like,
but we're not the center of it, you know? Like we're pretty big, but it's not like, the province-wide sort of focal point of a lawsuit. So it might have been like that kind of concern where it's like,
also, I guess like this leads into the next little bit that I want to talk about because they're planning to return. They haven't been fined and they're planning to return. So, I mean, even if it is what they're thinking, I don't think it's going to be successful. They're gonna keep doing this shit no matter what, you know.
Yeah.
And
No,
so,
I do like I would prefer if they find it, but I can also kind of understand the
so I he sent out a tweet today that said, in all caps, "Leaked document from London police. Vax mandate letter. Only from me. Massive call to action by the police. All servicemen and able bodies from all over Ontario. October 16, London. We take a stand. We push back. We take our freedom back. United non-compliance. Hashtag back the blue." So notice as well, in coordination with this idea that like the health unit is not complying by finding these people. But they're
Mhm.
and even though they rage against the police and how the police are being so mean during this thing, they're also trying to pull that whole like back the blue, we're supporting the police kind of bullshit. And in the next story that we're going to talk about at the school board stuff, you can see like there's connections there too. Like they should like it's interesting to me the connection between what happened at the Eaton Center and what is happening like locally because Toronto police I think have reached some sort of critical mass where they are pushing back even though like I don't necessarily support the aggressive stance. I would just prefer to like I don't know, get everyone's name and then find them later and find them not like
Mhm.
find them like but give them tickets later.
Yeah. Can we read the email?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Effective September 28, 2001. Okay. Further to previous messaging, the vaccination disclosure and safe
2001.
workplace 2021. Sorry. Disclosure safe workplace procedure is being implemented effective today, Tuesday, September 28, 2021. Creation of this procedure was based on the advice and the recommendation of public health authorities and was developed in consultation with the London Police Association and the London Police Service Board. In addition, the current experience of other organizations from both the policing sector and beyond has been given careful consideration. This will allow the London Police Service to avoid some of the challenges faced by others and to ensure a level of consistency and response across the policing sector. As previously noted, the procedure provides for a phased approach, which is summarized below. The full procedure is attached and shall be reviewed by all members as the following provides only a high-level summary. Phase 1. Those covered by the procedure will have until October 15 to provide proof of vaccination to the Human Resources Branch by confidential email. Those individuals who cannot be fully vaccinated based on protected grounds under the Human Rights Code must submit a request for accommodation along with all supporting documentation as soon as possible and no later than October 15th. All accommodation requests shall be submitted directly to the senior director. Effective October 15th, persons who fail to provide proof of vaccination shall be considered to be unvaccinated until such time proof of vaccination is received, pursuant to the procedure, with the exemption of those lawfully exempted pursuant to the code. So that's phase 1 apparently.
Mhm.
Phase 2, those covered by the procedure who fail to provide proof of vaccination and who are not subject to an approved accommodation will be subject to mandatory participation in COVID-19 educational sessions. They're going to re-educate the cops.
Jesus.
Those covered by the procedure who fail to provide proof of vaccination and who are not subject to an approved accommodation may be subject to additional measures. Uh, Measures to ensure that continued health and safety of our workplace and the community we serve. These additional measures may include reassignment or removal from active duties, denial of entry to London Police Service workplace, unpaid leave of absence, discipline up to and including termination. The information received in Phase 1 will guide the administration in making informed decisions with respect to these additional measures, as well as deployment decisions and planning for business continuity. Included with the procedure are a number of educational resources, links to relating. I love that. They need to educate the police that vaccines are safe. Given the developing and novel environment in which we find ourselves with respect to COVID-19 pandemic, this procedure will remain indefinite in nature and will be reviewed and amended as required. It is essential that all members understand that COVID-19 vaccinations are a critical element of the overall strategy to end the pandemic. However, existing protective measures, uh, masking, physical
So are they
distancing,
gonna
sanitizing, etc., remain equally important to maintaining the health and safety of both our members and the public we serve. What was that?
are they going to fire cops at some point? Like
Yeah,
what is
after October 15th, there will be a procedure, according to this letter. I heard them say that
But
on the
isn't
radio
that
today too.
a procedure for firing or a procedure for COVID education camps?
So I think it
Cops.
depends. It'll be through like a series of steps. I think they're going to do it by a case by case basis. I don't know how that's going to work internally. My guess is it has to be in accordance with the union as well and stuff like this. So I guess that's why they can't give some sort of like rigorous outline of like, well, if you don't do it, we're just going to fire you right away, kind of thing, right? So it's probably going to be like a back and forth thing. But like one thing they probably can do is do the unpaid thing, but I don't know. That might have to be through union conversations as well. Anyways, despite a member's vaccination status, these other protective measures will remain a requirement until public health authorities advise otherwise. So a list of information. Okay, yeah. So he's now saying we're going to do something October 16th. And then I was sent this from a Facebook post from somebody. So let's get, what do we have here? Saturday, October 16th. We need everyone who is against the forced vax push to be in attendance in London. If you ever wanted to stand up for freedom or your children's future, this is the day. I spoke with Chris Sky last night. He was requested to get the word out. The London police officers are being forced to vax, and they want everyone to come show support. Police officers, firefighters, paramedics, military, construction, truckers, whatever you're... truckers? No, like nothing weird against truckers. It's just like police, firefighters, paramedics, military, and construction and truckers. Like it's almost like they listed all of these like I guess like emergency services types fields, and then they're like, we also need manly man jobs like construction workers and truckers.
HVAC repairmen,
Yeah.
plumbers, electricians.
People with sufficient dirt on their hands. You know, I feel like that's what we get here. Whatever your reason for being against the loss of our freedom of movement and freedom of choice to make these personal medical decisions ourselves, as is our rights under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, needs to be there. If we could successfully help the London Police Department set a precedence for pushing back the Vax Pass, then we can all stand behind this precedence and continue continue the win for the people. The win for the people. Continue the win for the people. Those are words that were said.
Let's continue them.
I would hope to see as many of my friends there as possible. We need all hands on deck. PM me if you need help getting to the event, and I will connect you with the team. This is about who we like or hate. It's about futures for our children. The people win. Let's show them our numbers rise up. Okay. So it says here then, and this is got Chris Sky presents. Wear navy blue, back the blue, calling first responders and all freedom fighters, just say no to the vax mandates. So they're like, and it's apparently at Victoria Park. I'm surprised they're not doing it out in front of the police station. Like, are the police
Because they don't want to see them like they're protesting the police.
Yeah, but like, if you want the police to like, I mean, this is why they're not good at this whole like protesting. There will be crowdfunding for all police departments. What the fuck does that mean? There will be crowdfunding for all police departments. So now they're gonna fund the police after they're implementing the vaccine. I don't know.
Whatever. Just like fucking. It would be very funny if the cops went on strike over vaccines.
Or let them self abolish by all resigning because they refuse to obey a public health mandate.
Yeah.
Right?
It'd be very funny if London like fired like half of its police force for not being vaccinated.
Funny, but
That
good.
having been
I
said,
mean,
they would
fuck.
instantly turn into like a fascist street gang, but still.
Oh, the police, like, yeah, I was gonna say, like,
Yeah.
the remaining police would at least be marginally better than those who quit. But you're saying the ones who quit will, like, then form a faction.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing's just fucked up. Uh, like, it's amazing to me, or like, it's not too surprising. It's just like amazing to me that the rest of the society is still not going to clue in to how fucked up police are. That they're the ones at the forefront of being like against being vaccinated. You know that like there's maybe more police than in other occupations that like want to refuse a vaccination because they're all conservative and all drink this back the blue fucking Trump 2024 like Kool-Aid bullshit.
Yeah. Although, who is it? It's ATU 113 that's Toronto local that's like coming out against vaccine stuff too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few excuse me unions that have been against the vaccine mandate, and it sucks. I also said there was like a member of Black Lives Matter New York, one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter New York, who was on the Rebel talking about being against the vaccine mandates. And again, like we've already talked before about potential concerns about vaccine mandates and how they can disproportionately affect certain groups and how we want to make sure that we're not having situations where employees might know your like medical history if you're someone who gets like a medical exemption and what that
Hmm.
process looks like. And like I think they're like legitimate concerns, right? But I think it's like how you handle that also matters. Like no, I'm sure this Black Lives Matter New York activist is really awesome and has good politics, but you don't go on a fascist show to like chat with them because you agree with them on this one issue. And it was the same thing to like people who I met like doing canvassing who were like single issue voters who like decided who voted like left their whole lives but were like but I got to vote PPC because of these vaccines, you know. And it's just like you're doing your leftism the wrong. Is what I want to say. It's like that's not good, good. I guess just general thinking about how communities thrive. Like you don't throw all the other fights under the bus over this one issue. But apparently, for some people, that's how you do it. And I had a recent like Facebook, I guess, back and forth
Yeah.
uh, with again leftist organizers in town, and it was very frustrating and incoherent at times, with just like them comparing what is going on to the Holocaust. And my favorite is
Sorry.
they're
We're gonna have to talk about this after.
yeah.
Because like yeah,
Well, I already
who
I
I need to know.
yeah, I'll let you know off the thing who specifically they were, but like what I can say here is like I read I think I read to you and Elrond last night we were playing games the exchange, which was just like ridiculous. Um,
I wasn't on last night.
so it would have been Nick, but here I'll read the exchange just for funsies here, but I won't have it on screen just because I don't want to dox anyone involved. So, like, my friend goes, claiming discrimination on the basis of a choice you made in response to conditions that only arose in the last year is not the same as being a victim of the Holocaust. Those victims weren't given the opportunity to simply change their situation by simply booking an appointment, and were instead persecuted on a very deep, unchangeable characteristic of their being. Such comparisons to the current conditions are wrong and deeply offensive. Okay? I don't think there's anything too objectionable to that. But then someone responded, not yet. Hopefully never. Holocaust started with passports. The Holocaust started with passports, apparently. So then my friend responded,
Are the
actually,
initials L and G?
no, no.
Okay, it's not her.
No, these people, I'm not sure if you would know them. I don't know them.
Okay.
But then they go, my friend responded, actually, it started with the brown shirts smashing up Jewish stores and beating them, dot, 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 dot. And then I go, I guess we've been experiencing 1940s Germany ever since security was checking IDs at bars. So then they started responding to me, and so they go, nope, no pre-existing laws, acts, or legislations are being ignored or disregarded by checking for proof of age for alcohol consumption at a bar. Sorry, but your logic is flawed. And I said, do you think vaccine mandates violate pre-existing laws? And they send me a link to some sort of like health site that like, okay, sure. And they go, they sure do. Check out the Ontario Public Health Act, which it would have been nice if they sent that to me, but they didn't. And then they said, I think our prime minister is guilty of treason, unfortunately. All right. Then they said the Nuremberg Code as well. This shot is still in a phase of testing. And it's like this, we literally had this back and forth yesterday. So like, no, the shot, in fact, the Pfizer shot has been fully approved. It's not in the phase of testing anymore. And then they go, a report from the Privacy Commissioner of Canada dated March 2021 also states that it kind of does, even though the Ontario Human Rights Code, like the bureaucracy in charge of that put out a statement saying that these vaccine passports don't violate the Human Rights Code. So that's worth mentioning here as well. But then anyways, I respond to all this gobbledygook by saying, cite me where in the Health Act that the mandates are violating the law. Just a simple question, just to see like how on it they are. And then they did like that hand over the head like emoji, and then said, if you read the Health Act rights, where do you think the mandate could possibly violate those rights? I can't even right now. I can't believe anyone actually even voted for Trudeau. LOL. This country is basically gone. Take care. And like, I didn't vote for Trudeau. But
What the fuck?
they then, when this other person chimed in, and like, so this other person then goes, what pisses me off is that our forefathers fought in World War I and II for our freedom, and now you are throwing your freedom away for a bogus virus, a virus that was made in a lab in China. I followed COVID very closely. I had over 300 videos from China saved by January 24th, 2020, before most of you even knew it existed. Put your yellow shirt on and go fuck yourselves. You seem like getting fucked by the system. Antichrist Dagil system. I thought you were intelligent. I don't even know what half that meant. And so then I just go, so no then? You're not going to slate me? Part of the legislation?
So, China created a virus in a lab that's not real or dangerous and is fake. It you don't need protection from because they made it in a lab. What?
We exist in a society. Wow, you not understanding what they're saying just proves their point that you're not intelligent. No, what?
True.
Touche.
They got us there.
Vaccine mandates violate the Magna Carta. People act like we will lose the ability to tell what is a public health measure and what is communist China. I just like, it's amazing to me how these people who were ostensibly leftist activists, you know, and I use that like ostensibly because like I never sat down and had a chat with these people to like, you know, talk it over. But there would be people who would show up to like Black Lives Matter, stuff like this. And yet, what I think is going on really is they have an emotional compulsion against vaccination. Either because, you know, like from my own experience, like anti-vaccine stuff is prevalent in a lot of communities. Like it never used to be a left-right thing. But then all of a sudden, these people, they're so emotionally opposed to vaccination that they're just buying a bunch of arguments that we heard first on Rebel News. You know? That like the right wing took these arguments and ran with them. They're complete nonsense. Yet all these people on the left are now like doing interviews with Rebel News or, supporting Chris Sky or the PPC, who are the exact people they're supposed to oppose. All because of their emotional connection to this vaccine issue, which is mind blowing to me and completely meaningless. Like, again, like I realize that there is like a slight difference between, say, a health mandate that tells you that you need to wash your hands at work because like you're not injecting the soap into your body or something. It's almost like the idea is because you are injecting this thing into you, it's now crossed some sort of like ethical threshold where everything else that we do societally for public health, that's all okay because it's not being put within you, you know? And yet it still things that like restrict our freedom in the technical sense, you know? It's like, what I can't drive a forklift without a license? This is tyranny.
Hello, my rebels. Hello, my rebels. I'm a good boy. I'm a weirdo.